Hello and welcome to another episode of The Classical Republican. Today I'm with Rocky Fahrenberg. He's a musician, podcaster, and author, as well as a previous candidate for the Idaho State Legislature and the Idaho State Senate. Rocky is a practical libertarian, combining ideas of anarchism and pragmatism to achieve what he considers to be a practical libertarianism. All right, thank you for joining me today. We're going to start with the question, what is the best form of government and how do we achieve that?
So ideally, I would say probably the best form of government is to not have any type of government, since government tends to be the most oppressive factor in the equation. However, if, taking a more realistic stance, I would say probably the best form of government is the least amount of government possible. So government is actually only set up to protect life, liberty, and property. And so I would say that those are the only responsibilities that government should handle.
Okay. And so what would be the best way to achieve, here in 2021, United States, Idaho, what would be the best route for that?
Unfortunately, we live in a time where getting back to a period like that seems insurmountable. Basically, everybody has to be on the same page, and the downfall of that is that whenever you have such a vast country and diverse country like the US is, trying to get everybody on board with that idea is really difficult. And then whenever you have the government coming out basically offering handouts or basically bribes for votes, all of a sudden you have a more convoluted way to get back there. And personal responsibility is never a winning argument in politics. So the path to get back there would basically be convincing people that these ideas are valuable and that they are beneficial, but doing so is much harder with the type of populace that we have today.
How did you come to these beliefs personally?
When I spent about 2 years incarcerated in the criminal justice system. Whenever I got out of the criminal justice system and decided I want to make a change for my life, I decided that the two things that I should evaluate are the two things that people say that you shouldn't talk about in public, and that's religion and politics. So after doing very, very advanced studies on politics and different ideologies, I basically came across libertarianism and started kind of digging into it, and just basically thought that this was very sound with the principles that I believe, and therefore I adopted the moniker and kind of ran with it, even though I don't really like a whole lot of labels, but it is what it is, and it makes things a little typically it makes things a lot easier if you have a label added on there, but telling people that you're a libertarian doesn't necessarily always make the explanation go away.
Can you give an overview of the history of the ideology?
Okay, so this is where I lack a little bit. I know that I believe it was in the 40s, as whenever the Libertarian Party was actually formed. But the ideas of libertarianism harken back to very basic, like colonial days, like moving away from the government, kind of establishing yourself, individualism, private property rights, those types of things. And, they've even adopted the Gadsden flag and even the colors of the Gadsden flag with, the gold and the black as far as anarcho capitalism is concerned. So the basic ideas are, peace, tolerance, freedom, individualism, capitalism, these are the basic ideas. So like I said, I don't really necessarily know the whole history behind it, but these are the principles and these are the ideas. And like I said, I had a resurgence, I think sometime in like the 40s or 50s, but this is like calling back to the very original ideas of the Articles of Confederation and all that hoopla.
You mentioned the Gadsden flag. Do you have any other symbols of the ideology?
The porcupine is a big one. That's kind of like you got the donkey and the elephant. The porcupine tends to be the mascot for the Libertarian Party. Reason being, at least from what I've heard, is that the porcupine is a peaceful creature, but a creature that you don't want to mess with. So with that being said, like I said, the Gaston flag is, and not everybody in the Libertarian Party is so vast, and the Libertarian sect is so vast. You got so much infighting within that group that, you know, some people probably say that the Gaston flag is not part of, you know what I mean, libertarian ideology. Once again, you have some people that take on the idea and some people that don't. You have two big sects there. You got the libertarian capitalism, and which are, you know, kind of fall in the camp of ANCAPs, and then you have ANCOMs, which are anarcho-communists versus anarcho-capitalists. So both sides tend to favor anarchism as far as like a political ideology, basically meaning they believe in a stateless society. But then you have communism versus capitalism as economic systems. And the issue with the communism side is that you can't have communism without a state. So.
Okay. So you're very, I would put you in the non-statist box. Are you
correct?
Okay.
That's definitely true. I am not a statist whatsoever.
How do you regard private property?
Well, it actually comes from the idea of self-ownership. So basically, the very founding idea here is the non-aggression principle. We don't initiate violence against peaceful people, which stems to basically self-ownership. So self-ownership basically says I own my body. I can do with my body as I so choose. And from there, we can determine that you own your labor. So if you trade your labor for something else, revenue or for goods or other services, you therefore own those goods. Now, at that point, we can determine that if you own your body and you can own property, therefore you have private property rights.
Okay. My next question is negative or positive liberty?
Now this was a question that seemed kind of interesting. Can you define what negative and positive liberty are?
So negative,
like negative and positive rights?
Oh, well, I'm sorry. I was talking over you.
I said, is that like negative and positive rights?
Yes.
So I don't know if you've gone over it, but yeah. So insofar as like negative rights, the idea is that a negative right doesn't require anybody else to do anything for you. So like the freedom of speech is an actual freedom that all people should have. It doesn't require anybody else to do anything for you. Now, we don't have a right to healthcare because healthcare requires somebody else to do something for you. So therefore, you must exert force in order to compel somebody else to do something for you, either for free or at a determined price. It's not their set price. It gets really convoluted, and you can't necessarily declare something to be a right of one person if it requires somebody else to do something for them. And that's basically stems back to the idea of private property rights. So if we're talking about healthcare, once again, that doctor owns his body. He also owns his labor and the byproduct of his labor. So he shouldn't have to sacrifice anything through the initiation of force on behalf of the government in order to be compelled to do something for other people just because the government deems that it's a right.
How do we preserve liberty?
These are the types of questions like before, you know, how do we get to this point? These are the real tough questions. And a lot of times what I tell people is we have to continue to educate ourselves, and we have to continue to have conversations with people. We can't be shrouded out as saying like, we can't, you know, you shouldn't talk about politics and religion. We should be far more understanding towards one another. We should realize that, you know, when the state is out there, you know, throwing out all these different bogus stories and the media is hyping everything up, these are just ways to be able to keep us divided among each other under stupid pretenses, like dividing us amongst race and causing kind of race battles and stuff, when in all actuality we have far more in common and less in common than we do with the state and with the people that run the state. The real division should be between government and the people, not government dictating the differences between people. So once we can begin to kind of tear down these walls and have realistic conversations, which also comes with people being educated properly rather than, via the state. Is another big issue with state-run education, is that they have carte blanche to basically be able to teach whatever they want in these schools. I mean, it's all government issued education, and it doesn't really teach you the things that you need in order to be able to have these types of constructive conversations. So that's probably one of the biggest things, is it's not going to be something where we come in and we take it by force, because that's not the belief system behind liberty. The idea is that we have to be able to communicate ideas and let some of the best ideas prevail, and we can only let the best ideas prevail if we have an educated populace.
How do you view class?
Like poor, middle class, rich.
Yeah, we're working class, landowning class. When you have is that an important identifier among libertarians or not?
Here's the thing. Yeah, I don't necessarily really think it's super pertinent. The working class and even the rich actually fluctuate quite a bit. There's a very, very small amount that are rich and stay rich. Think about how many new millionaires are created every single year, or multimillionaires. And then people fall out of that class and they go back into that class. Class is fluid. It's not as rigid as people think it is. So, and especially with a freer state, you have much more upward mobility in order to achieve more and be able to move through the classes if you want to. So no, I mean, I think it could be beneficial given that you're a marketer and you're trying to figure out who you're wanting to market to. But as far as politically and trying to utilize that for political advantage, I don't think so.
Is there anything that should be done about inequality?
So here's always a really tricky one here with libertarians, and I think libertarians get a bad rap because a lot of libertarians don't believe in stuff like basically any laws that are propped up on the idea of creating equality of any kind. Because what it does is it actually takes away people's ability to be able to act freely in a marketplace. And the horrible thing about that is that you're going to have garbage people. And you know what? By creating a law, you don't eliminate garbage people, nor do you actually really make anything fair. You really just basically shift the goalposts so that certain people will have to get treated a certain way, or else there will be some kind of repercussion. So, I mean, really, equality comes down to the fact of equality under the law. So if we were all treated the same way by government, then it's all equal. But the problem is that we're not. We have to create special laws in order to be able to delegate to specific groups how they can and can't act and how they can and can't be treated. And I mean, really, if we were able to have a society where if somebody's a garbage person, the community should be able to push them out. I don't see why not. There's been plenty of times that I like a business and I think somebody winds up being a garbage person and I don't frequent their business anymore. I don't give them money. Sometimes I think that they're a garbage person, but I also think their product is way better or their service is way better. And I don't think they're that much of a garbage person. So sometimes I'll still frequent their business, but it allows the marketplace to be able to either push those people out or not.
Is there a place for unions in a libertarian society?
One of the times I was running for office, I sat down and chatted with some of the some of the heads of the unions, and what I thought would be phenomenal for these guys, and one of the guys liked it, the other guy didn't. But if a union was set up in a way, and this is going to sound really nasty or leave a bad taste in people's mouths who are union supporters, but just for the sake of a long explanation, if they were set up more like a premium staffing agency, basically say there's a union and I want to hire somebody, okay? So I want to go to that specific union because they have the best quality people. And if that specific union also is able to issue their own licenses or their own licensures and stuff, then all of a sudden whoever has ABC licensure from Electricians United, all of a sudden that, because you have quality electricians in that union, now you have your licensure actually carries weight. People want to go and get that licensure because businesses want to get electricians from ABC union or whatnot. But the problem is that unions are actually set up in a way where they monopolize, or not monopolize, they take advantage of the government's monopoly on the use of force, and they utilize the government in order to be able to push their agenda on companies and whatnot. So no, I don't necessarily think that that is appropriate, but I think there still is room for a version of what could be unions in a libertarian society.
Let's see. How wedded are you to capitalism? Could there be a libertarian society where I don't know, maybe it was maybe, well, I mean, pre-capitalism, you could probably have a libertarian society, but since we're already in a capitalist society, how wedded to capitalism are you?
So this is the way that it is. Capitalism is the best economic system devised by man thus far. There could potentially be something better out there that we come across at some point in time. But true blue capitalism is actually the best economic system that we have. So at this point, fairly wedded to it, but I'm open to new ideas, not reboxing and repackaging old ideas.
Okay. Do you see the libertarian ideology as increasing or decreasing? Is it ascendant or descendant at this time?
I mean, with political elections, whenever you had Gary Johnson in there and Bill Weld, which there's numerous problems with both those people to begin with, but you see it increase. I mean, it gains popularity, but and then even with whenever you had Joe in there this last time, you running for office. I mean, you had a lot of people talking about the Libertarian Party and whatnot. You get a lot of people that don't know really what the Libertarian Party is. They think like it's Republicans that like to smoke pot or kind of whatever little catchphrase they want to use. A little bit left and a little bit right, a mixture of both. And that's really not what it is. It's its own thing. So, and as far as like, we're getting more people that are like labeling themselves as libertarians. And so I think you're getting more people that are coming through that as a vein into like the actual ideas of libertarianism. But is it growing like it's exploding and everybody's on board with it? No. But I definitely think it is increasing in popularity and increasing in membership, I guess, as far as the party goes.
Why do you think that is?
Why do I think that is?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, people are so sick and tired of the two-party system. They're so sick of choosing, your red garbage or your blue garbage, that people are looking elsewhere for ideas, and they're looking elsewhere for people, because, no matter who you vote for, you always get John McCain, and you're always going to get John McCain's policies. I mean, there's almost no difference between a Hillary Clinton and a John McCain. There's no difference between Hillary Clinton and a Bush, really. They're all going to go for the same thing. And, they're all going to be, war hawks. They're all going to be big government people. They're going to have a big argument about the income tax or about corporate tax rates between 37 and 34%, whenever in actuality it shouldn't even be a thing at all. Like, when people prop these, when people prop these people up as being their saviors and stuff, or oh, look what this person did, it's all just a bunch of garbage, and it's all just a bunch of smoke and mirrors. And and then the argument whenever you bring up good points is always, well, would you have rather had the other guy? No, I wouldn't have rather had either one of them. And it's just really bad that we live in a place and a time where the best qualified people to run for office is Hillary Clinton, Joe Biden, Donald Trump, W. Bush, and just all these people that have ran for office. This is really the best that America can produce, or these are just the people that have weaseled their way into a position where they can actually run and possibly win based on popularity and name.
What are your thoughts on majoritarianism? Should the will of the people always be supreme?
I don't know if necessarily like the House of Representatives and living in like more like republic style system like we do is better, because I don't really like I don't stand standardly I don't really like the idea of voting, because there's a lot of problems with it, and I'll kind of get to an example in a second. But people always talk about democracy this, democracy that, simply because we vote. But democracy is basically a majority rule, and the reason why democracy is a horrible idea and trying to eliminate uh, um, the system that we have today, where you have representatives on your behalf. I'm blanking on the term. So, but the so if we have pure democracy, let's just say it's basically majority rule. Okay, what majority rule looks like is we all go out for pizza. 10 of us go out for pizza, and 9 of us vote that you get to pay for the pizza once we're done. That's what majority rule looks like, and it's not fair, and it's not right, and it initiates violence and force on other people. So I don't necessarily like that. It's a better way to go about having representatives and voting like this, because here's the thing: if you didn't have representation equally among states, you would have New York, Chicago, and LA basically just running everything.
Um, I was wondering about your thoughts on the New Hampshire Free State experiment, where it's where, from what I understand, it's a lot of libertarians were asked to come out to New Hampshire and so that you could have an electorate who was favorable to libertarian ideas and have a majority who would be able to send those type of politicians into office and get those policies introduced. What do you think about that?
Right. So it was called the Free State Project. I was thinking about moving to New Hampshire myself based on a number of different factors, but that was definitely heavily influenced, entertaining the idea. So the idea of the Free State Project was basically finding a low population state that already had the fundamental ideas of freedom instilled into it. And New Hampshire came up to be the state that they picked. So that would be New Hampshire. And a lot of it has to do with from everything from, I believe New Hampshire was the first state who seceded from Great Britain. Fact check me on that, but I believe that's one of the points that I read about it. The other thing is, the whole live free or die state, down to the little things like no seatbelt laws, no motorcycle helmet laws, that kind of stuff. So basically, they found a state that had a small population that was influential in elections, because they're the first state that cast ballots, on the campaign trail, even though they only have 4 electoral votes. So, I mean, it's one of these states that is pivotal and already has a strong foundation of freedom. But if you dig more into the stats on New Hampshire, I mean, New Hampshire's really not a bad place to live. I mean, I think they were 3rd in the nation for public schools. Average age of an adult there is 38. They have extremely low crime rates, especially extremely low violent crime rates. No real severe natural disasters and stuff there. You have the ocean. You also have the woods, like the forest and stuff. You have all 4 seasons there. I mean, it's really not a bad place. It just usually doesn't come up on people's radars as, hey, where do you want to move? Oh, New Hampshire sounds like a good place to move. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So it's not too bad. They don't have any property they don't have a sales tax or income tax, kind of like my home state of Alaska, but they do have extremely high property tax, because I mean, the government will get you on the front or the back, and it don't matter. They're going to get you no matter what. So.
Has there been any progress? I mean, Do they have to run their candidates in the Republican Party, or how's that working out?
So this is a split. This is another big split in the Libertarian Party. Some people believe utilizing the Libertarian Party is beneficial. Some people believe running in the Republican Party is beneficial because they're already a platform. And then there's another sect of people in the Libertarian, I guess, Libertarian world, because they're not really part of the party, but they don't believe in voting at all. And they basically believe voting is aggression, and you know what I mean. We shouldn't be engaging in the same system that we don't believe in. So you know, I mean, there's a couple different avenues there. Me personally, you know, I've ran in the Republican Party and I ran as an independent. I have yet to run as a under the banner of a libertarian. But you know, I mean, there can be benefits to that. I guess. Look, if you run as a Republican, but you maintain your ethics and your morals, your principles, then I don't have a problem with it. Ron Paul is a great example of that. He ran in the Libertarian Party in 1988, and then he ran again, you know, on the back of Bush policy. You know what I mean? He ran, you know, against Giuliani and was talking about how, you know, basically how, you know, how would you feel if, you know, China was over here building bases and you know, conducting military operations in the states. You know, the United States would react to that. And whenever you have the American government tampering and meddling around in the Middle East, you know, since, you know, the Carter administration, yeah, you're going to have some sort of recoil at some point in time. And unfortunately, it came in the form of a devastating event like 9/11. And so now all of a sudden they promote these ideas like, you know, they hate us because we're free and because our women wear like tube tops and all that garbage and stuff they espoused back then. But in actuality, they hate us because we've been meddling over there for so long. And it's all a bunch of stuff that most of the American population doesn't even really know, which leaves us in confusion whenever something like that does actually happen. So once again, I mean, if you can stand up on stage and you can stick to your morals and your principles and not waver, I don't think that I don't think it's wrong to run in the Republican Party.
Do you think the Libertarians in New Hampshire have pushed the needle any in the direction they desire?
You know, I don't know very much about the politics in New Hampshire. I know that a lot of the people that are elected are Democrats, although I don't know if they're, you know, the socialist kind of Democrats or if they're kind of your standard, you know, Joe Biden kind of Democrats. But I know that most of the representation over there have D's next to their name. And I don't, you know, to be honest, I don't really know how much they're influencing. I got pushed off onto a book. I'm trying to remember what it was. It was something. God, I can't remember the title of the book now. It was something about dinosaurs, I think, like the dinosaur in the Democratic Party or something like that. And it's kind of about the Free State Project and kind of about the I guess the way the rest of the New Hampshireites view the Free State Project, which I imagine is probably rather unfavorable. Anytime that people are coming into your state, like here in Idaho, when we're getting all the Californians, it doesn't matter if they're the Republican Californians or the Democratic Californians. Most Idahoans are not a big fan of Californians coming here. You know what I mean? So anytime that you have any type of invasion or migration or anything like that, however you want to put it, you know, it's not really seen as very favorable. So I would say that they probably have more of a foothold than they did before, simply because people have moved there, and with having a higher voting block, you can, you know, do more. But is it to the degree where it's really affecting the elections yet? Probably
Okay. Well, great. Well, that's all the questions I have for you today. Do you have anything else you'd like to say?
Well, I got a book out called The Fat Free Guide to Songwriting. It's a little bit off topic from where we're at right now, but it's definitely an interesting read and kind of breaks down just, you know, the ideas of songwriting. Like I said, I am a musician. I did host a podcast called the Noisemaker Podcast for quite a few years, where I interviewed independent underground unsigned bands. It gave them an interview style platform to showcase their music. Other than that, I would say I'm fairly active in the political realm down here in Twin Falls, Idaho. Sometimes I'm just more of a loudmouth, and sometimes I actually get up there and put the money where the mouth is, kind of thing. But it's really one of the things that I want to stress to people is, I know maybe some of the things that I've said might kind of turn you off. Maybe it's uncomfortable. Maybe it's something that you don't want to take a look at right this second. But just know that everything that I talk about stems from the idea that we don't hurt people when we don't take their stuff, which is something I've never heard anybody disagree with. So just take whatever I say with a grain of salt, do some research on it, and really develop your own ideas. Don't just listen to other people say this is the way it is. Don't even listen to me. Go out there and do your own research, look around, try to figure out what political ideology actually fits with your morals and values. Not I like this one or two or three issues, and I agree with this side on these three issues, and I'm die hard on them, and so I'm just going to adopt everything, because we get that a lot. Sometimes people are just really hard, especially with the mask stuff now. I mean, people are like, I don't believe you should have to wear a mask, automatically in the Republican camp. I believe you should have to wear a mask, automatically in the Democratic camp. And it's not really political either way. So it's really one of those things where you got to really kind of parse out what you believe, because you might agree with somebody from the opposite side. And then all of a sudden you want to be part of that camp that you were part of. So really dig into kind of what you believe and take a deep, hard look at it,
All right, very good. Those are some good words. Well, I want to thank you very much for being with us today, and good luck to you.